good, boys? I know you've been waiting a while for this one, but it's finally here. Today I'm going to be showing you how I mix my beats, and I've even got a beat right here that I'm going to mix from scratch for you. And if you do enjoy these tutorials, feel free to let me know in the comments or leave a like down below. I also just copped the new contact bank from Native Instruments called seshnolan. It's a beast, so I'm going to be showing that off in this video as well. Also, if you're in the market for a DAW at the moment, I have an affiliate link down below for FL Studio, so make sure you click that link if you're looking to buy FL Studio. I just copped a new Asus ROG Zephyrus laptop. It's a beast. I'll give you a little look. My mic is here, so I can't really talk, but that's how she's looking. Hold up. Jeez! We even got the little mic right here as well. You know, pretty good setup. I've also got this fan right here, so apologies if there's any unnecessary noise. And yeah, I know a lot of you have been waiting on this one, so let's waste no time. Less of the yappa yappa. Let's get straight into this. Okay, so this is what the beat is sounding like so far. Okay, apologies for the weird popping that happens whenever I play. I don't know what it is and I can't fix it, so I'm just gonna have to live with it. It was like this on my last laptop as well, so I don't know if it's just a bug with FL Studio or what, but it kind of pops every now and then. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna show you everything that I have like on the mixing channel before I go into the kind of mastering and all the extra stuff. So I have a bus here with all of my melodies, and the way you do this is you just highlight all of these and then right click and then route to this track only, so it's going in here and not in here. You can see that the little yellow wire thing, the green wire, that's not yellow at all, the green wire is going into this bus but not into the master as well, like this. So that's how you create a bus. What I put on the bus then is very simple. It's just a sound shifter, just if I want to switch the key like this. So for example, with the 0 semitones, this is what it sounds like. But then if I want to shift it down one, pretty nifty plugin by Waves. If you're able to afford it, I would definitely cop it because there's not many alternatives, unfortunately. So this is the channel for the main guitar chords, and I just have a light boost at around 4.8. It's more or less 5, so between 5 and 6 is kind of a good place to boost, just to get some clarity in the mix. And I'm just taking a bit out at 128 because it's kind of boomy and it's just like a bit sore on your ears basically. So secondly, I have a high pass filter which is automated to come in when the 808 comes in, so you'll see it comes in here. So it's very subtle, but here's what it sounds like. You can just hear it gets a bit thinner. So yeah, we usually wouldn't want the guitar to sound thin, but because there's an 808 in there, it'll just clash if we don't cut out the lows, so it's an important step. So next we have the little tremolo thing. And once again, I'm just taking out the lows at around, what is that? Just between like 100 and 140, around there. And the melody doesn't have too much low end in it, so I didn't, there's no effects on it as of yet anyway. So then for the drums, here's what they sound like on their own. So similar to the melody, I have all of these selected and then put into a bus here, and literally all that's on this bus is just a parametric EQ to gain it into the soft clipper. So you'll see it's just the standard settings, everything just to 3 o'clock, and put the parametric EQ before the soft clipper so that you can gain it into the soft clipper, if that makes sense. So without it gained up, it would sound like this. Obviously it's going to be quieter, but the soft clipper isn't going to be affecting it as much. So you hear it's not as crunchy, but if I... So you can hear the real... Yeah, so that's a bit much. So yeah, that's the reason for the parametric EQ before the soft clipper. And so the only thing I have on my master is these. So once again, the parametric EQ is just gaining it down. And I don't want to confuse you, but this is basically just to compensate for the room noise when I'm using my monitors, because it's an untreated room basically. So this EQ is to correct the room essentially. Yeah, just don't pay attention to any of these things. They're as good as not there. So that's pretty much everything so far. So let's just I'm just going to continue to mix this basically, and I'll just talk you through everything that I'm doing. So if we go back to the bus, one thing I always put on the bus, especially when I'm using a Spanish guitar like this, is just RC20. So I just bring the wobble down to about 9%, turn off the EQ as well because I'm not trying to muffle anything, bring the flutter up a little bit, and then bring the rate down, and bring the rate down here as well, and you'll hear the difference. So yeah, I just kind of adjust it to my liking. And basically, so when I put the RC20 on the loop bus, it basically affects every single one of these. So I don't have to put RC20 on every single one of them basically. So it essentially just saves my time. Castaways. To be honest, the most important thing when it comes to mixing the drums is the leveling. So you'll see my levels are like crazy high for the 808 especially. I'm just gonna hit play and you'll see my levels as it comes in. So I can probably bring these up a little bit, especially the clap, just to make the clap a bit more present. So yeah, that's a better level now. And yeah, like if you look at that, my 808 is basically like at least 6 dB louder if you look at the meters when it plays. And yeah, it's not like a rule of thumb or anything, but like you'll just be able to hear when the 808 is at the right level. For me, it's a bit crazy, like I probably put it too loud, but it's just the way I like it. Everyone has their own different style basically. So one thing I would say is just don't copy whatever you see on my screen, because it's different for everyone. One thing I do tend to do, really important when you're bouncing out stems especially, is I keep the levels below 0 dB, because if they're above 0 dB, no matter if you gain stage them in the buses or whatever you do, when you bounce out the stems they'll all be clipping if it goes over 0 dB, so you just don't want to have that. So yeah, make sure everything is below 0 dB. I almost forgot to mention that there is some reverb on the guitars already, but it's just built into the plugin. Yeah, you'll see I have a reverb on every single one of them. And lastly as well, I recorded some shakers in there, some live shakers with my, where are they? My maracas. Hold up. These guys. With these guys. So I'll show you what I did to them as well. So they're probably the most mixed instrument on this track. So I used a lot of, well not a lot, but I used more plugins on them. So it goes into this bus here. So yeah, it's kind of quiet, but so basically I just took out a lot of the lows because this is what it sounded like. So this is what it sounded like before it was mixed. So obviously it's a lot louder because I turned it down with these plugins, but this is what it sounds like after. So the first thing I did is put a high pass filter, just taking out all the low end, because most of the presence of those maracas is in the high end. And I also just took out a little bit of the high end because it was quite harsh with all of the high end in. And then I used this really good chorus plugin called Tal Chorus LX. This is what it sounds like without the chorus. And you can just hear what it's doing to it. It's kind of widening it and just making it sound more kind of phasey. And then lastly I have a bit of Valhalla reverb. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So I'm just going to walk you through my mastering process now. So first off, I put a parametric EQ, and I simply just use this for the gain as well because it's really handy. So I just brought everything down 4 dB just to make sure that the levels are right when they're going into all these plugins. So first off, I'm going to use the Ssl Compressor, the bus compressor. Basically just put a high or a slow attack and a fast release with a ratio of 4 as well, and then just adjust the, so you just want it to kind of catch the peaks, you don't want it to be doing too much, so just a little bit is enough. And if you don't have the Ssl Compressor by Waves, you can just use the stock Fruity compressor and just copy the same settings as mine. So a ratio of about 4, slow attack, and then a fast release, and just adjust it from there basically. So the next thing that I put in is Aphex Vintage Exciter, and this is basically like an EQ slash saturator. It just kind of brings the high end up a little bit, and it just creates some kind of harmonics as well. So here's what it sounds like as I turn it up now. So yeah, I feel like less is kind of more with this one. You just want it to be subtly doing something. And then after that, I just bring in a simple EQ, and I just start adjusting the highs and the lows and also the mids as well. So I'm actually going to adjust the EQ on the 808 now as well, because I can see that there's a huge spike down here. By using a dynamic band like this, it basically just only takes out that frequency when it's needed. So when it hits a certain threshold, it just kind of takes it down a bit. So it's a really clever way to kind of go about it. So next I open up Maximus just to adjust the stereo image of all the different frequencies. So you'll see it's broken up into low, and that sounds like this. The mid and the high as well. So it basically just allows you to control each element and adjust the stereo image using this button here. So for the low frequencies and the sub frequencies, we want them to be in mono. So what we do is we just hit play and then just bring that straight into mono. And then for the mids, it kind of varies. You can make it wider, or you can just leave it as it is. I tend to kind of widen it out just a little bit, and same for the highs as well. So you can also use Maximus to add some saturation with this threshold knob here. So I tend to add a little bit to the low end just to bring out the harmonics in the low end. It's very subtle, it doesn't really do a whole lot, but it's just knowing that it's doing something is good. And so once I'm done with Maximus, the final thing I add is either FabFilter Pro L, or I use the stock Fruity limiter. It pretty much does the same thing, it's just a limiter, but this one's really kind of like brick wall limiting, like nothing gets past the actual limiting point, so I tend to go for this one. And so yeah, once I add the limiter, it's pretty much done. There's not really much else I would do past this point. So here's the comparison between no effects and with effects. So the volume actually didn't even change at all really. They were both hitting just about 0 dB. And there's just a huge difference in the clarity and everything. So that's why I use these methods, because it's just the end result is really nice and it's crispy as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. If you found this useful in any way, make sure you like and subscribe and comment below as well. And if I missed out on anything, feel free to let me know in the comments too. I definitely didn't intend on this video being so long, but I just wanted to make sure that I got everything in. So I appreciate you watching. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Best of luck.